All right, let's go to 10:8. And the voice which I heard out of the heaven was again talking with me and saying, go and take the little book, the one having been opened in the hand of the angel who is standing on the sea and on the earth. So Christ directs to the apostle, eat, devour the knowledge, right? That's what's going on here. This is the image, the devouring of, we say that he devours like the book, right? We use that expression. So you digest, you eat the knowledge here. And then it goes on, and I went away to the angel saying to him to give me the little book. And he says to me, take and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but in the mouth it shall be sweet as honey. Is our belly ever bitter? Not really, right? The mouth is where we have the taste. So that's a very interesting expression there. We'll look at that in a second. But it is what we saw also in Ezekiel, that we're instructed here, the prophet is instructed to eat the scroll. And of course, that means to receive the understanding, receive the knowledge. So this is a way for him to receive the knowledge of this mystery that's being proclaimed to him, the prophecies that is being given to proclaim, and he is digesting that, and then he's going to basically present that, right, to all of us shortly. So it means here this strange expression that it's bitter in the stomach but sweet in the mouth. It means the knowledge of the mystery of God and the fulfillment of this mystery, along with everything coming to an end, lends a certain sweetness, right? So you have that sweetness of knowing the knowledge, right? And having the knowledge and coming to fulfillment of this mystery. And yet you have the bitterness. Why? Because there's going to be so many terrible trials, tribulations, deceptions, martyrdoms, and all the rest. So there's obviously going to be also bitterness. That coexistence is really characteristic of our spiritual life, isn't it? We say right now during this Lenten period, what do we say? Harmolipi in Greek, right? What is that? The joyful sorrow, or the I guess that's the best translation, joyful sorrow. It's this mixing, this constant coexistence in our life of a joy and a sorrow, right? We have a pain of heart for our own sins, for the sins of the world, for the loss of our brothers and sisters, for the divisions, for the wars. We have this pain of heart in this valley of tears. And yet we have this great, great hope, that's presented and continuous, and this consolation coming from heaven and the presence of God and the truth and the beauty of God and all the rest. At the same time, in the midst of this world, we have both. And that's how it is here with the prophet. He has both a sweetness because of what God is doing and a bitterness of what man is not doing in response, which is the tragedy. So this is a direct quote here from the text. I just actually photographed it and I wanted to put it in because I want you to see, that was the best way to communicate that. Now that the Holy Evangelist learns from the small scroll, the little book of prophecies, that these things are drawing to a close, he has great joy. Is, as we say, glory be to God, right? History is coming to an end, but he is also grieved. And this is what will make his stomach bitter, because as we just said, I got ahead of myself, stomach cannot taste. So if we eat something bitter, it will taste bitter in our mouth and not in our stomach. However, this is a very creative image for the express purpose of showing that the Holy Evangelist will grieve while seeing the destructive prophecies revealed to him by God, by Christ. He will see the loss of lives, the terrible times awaited by the faithful. Although those times will come to an end, he grieves until those events are ended. So he's what a very powerful experience that must have been. Amazing experience to see and to know that this is going to come to pass. And it is what it is. And he's observing all this from a great distance, but so lively, so intensely. As a man, he suffers with the non-believers and the impious as well, right? He's a man like all men, and we co-suffer with all of humanity. Anybody who does not one has to wonder where their humanity has gone, right? If you are callous, if you think that callousness is somehow a virtue, you are deluded, right? Be careful. There are men today who revel in, well, there's nothing that can be done. They must be lost. They must be killed. There must be war. That's not the stance of the prophet here, the great evangelist. He's not Cali. Oh, well, this is just the will of God. No. This reminds us of Islam or some pagan religion. No. This is the trait of the true Christian, that he rejoices with those rejoicing and he weeps with those who are weeping, right? Both and. They have to coexist somehow. You've got to learn how to live in both of those realms at the same time, to walk that narrow path, right? That's a very, very characteristic of the Christian. Weep with those weeping, rejoice with those rejoicing. Rejoice in God always. Rejoice, the apostle says, constantly. And yet, at the same time, characteristic of the true Christian is a pain of heart. And if you do not have that pain of heart, you've got to wonder if you've made any progress in the spiritual life. What have you been doing, right? For compunction, contrition is a way of life. It's a state of being for the Christian. It's not something that he has once in a while, but he feels almost consistently that he is weeping and in pain for the sake of his own sins and the sins of the world. It's a mystery of the presence of God in the midst of this and the freedom that man has, right? Men are free to go back again and again to the pit, to the vomit, unfortunately. And this is what many do. God help us to always get up and return to the Father's embrace. Now, going on to 10:10 to 11. And I took the book out of the hand of the angel and ate it up. I devoured it. That's the King James, ate it up. I think let me see, 10:10, 11. Yeah, that's also ate it up is also in the Orthodox New Testament. So I ate it up and it was in my mouth, sweet as honey. And when I ate it, my belly was made bitter. That should be not better, bitter. And they say to me, it is needful for thee again, it should be thee again, not the again, thee again, prophesy because of many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. All right, so there's two typos here. Let's not make any errors. I'll make sure everybody hears this. This is my rushing to get this produced. Forgive me. Bitter. My belly was made bitter. That's obvious. That can't be better. And it was needful for thee again to prophesy. So they're saying to the apostle and evangelist, you must prophesy again, because many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. So here we have a full knowledge of the mysteries of God being given to the apostle. And yet, this knowledge of the mysteries of God themselves brings grief, sorrow, and pain. As we said earlier, why? Because of the response of human beings and the machinations of the demons. So it is interesting that he has full knowledge. So according to the elder, he knows the name of the Antichrist. Isn't that interesting? It's the first time I've ever seen this here in Elder Athanasius' interpretation. I don't remember. Maybe I missed it, but he knows the name of the Antichrist. And yet he reveals the number of the name. And there's a reason. There's a good reason. We'll talk about it in a second. But as Solomon writes, for in much wisdom is much vexation. And he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. And this is one of the mysteries here that you can see this in the lives of the saints as well. That as they grow in knowledge of the mysteries of God and the created world and the nature of their fellow man, they're necessarily thrust into the fallen state of man and having to confront that in themselves and in all of their brothers and sisters in all the world. And they're seeing the demons and they're seeing all these things that are becoming, the knowledge that they're obtaining necessarily brings with it sorrow because of the state of things. So it's interesting. The more things you know, the more pain you invite. And so there is this sense of ignorance is bliss, but it's not bliss in the sense of spiritual advancement and spiritual knowledge and communion with God. That would be a gross distortion. It's bliss in the sense that you are avoiding one half, but you're not going to enjoy the joy either. You're not going to enjoy the rejoicing, the harmo part of the harmolipi, right? The joy of the joyful sorrow. So you can't say, oh, I just want joy. Just give me joy, please. No sorrow. It doesn't work that way. You're going to have both. And you're going to have to understand how to go deeper in both simultaneously. This reminds me of the words of Elder Metropolitan Neophytos when I was talking to him 2 years ago. And I said, how is it possible that we're going to see at the one and the same time an ascent of orthodoxy, a kind of a mission, a last mission to the world, et cetera, the prophecies that have been given to us by different elders before the end, and yet we're going to see a continuation of this ascent of Antichrist and the spirit of Antichrist. And it's been interesting since he told me, yes, that's exactly what's going to happen. But I think that in different ways through this study of the book of Revelation, this has been confirmed for me again and again. This is another version of that these two things will coexist, and they always have, and they will until the end of time. And it's hard for us to understand practically how that's going to work out, but it will. It'll be that in that way, and everybody will have a choice to make. Who do you want to be with? It'll be clearer and clearer before the final ascent of Antichrist. It will be an opportunity for all humanity to say, I want Christ, not Antichrist. The murkiness that has been going on for so long in order to bring about this Antichrist way of life and of thinking that you see in the various heresies and transhumanism and perennialism and all these various distortions of the gospel. Well, that's going to give way for a time to clarity. There's going to be clarity, and the people are going to have to choose, and it'll be right there, both sorrow and joy. Choose, as he always said in the Old Testament. He said, "Choose." Right? That's always going to be there. It's never going to be just one or there. No, we're just going to have that's the chiliasm, right? Heaven on earth. We're going to have a reign of Christ on earth. That is delusional. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen before the restoration of all things. There will be nothing like that. So a new heaven and earth is going to have to come before that totality of God, Christ all in all.